You wake up tomorrow, you feel completely fine. Your energy is decent, you're not drinking, you're not even that overweight. Then a routine scan shows fatty liver, no symptoms, no warning signs, just a quiet problem that's been building for years. And here's what really gets me. Most people who get this diagnosis immediately get told to cut carbs, cut fat, stop enjoying food, and lose weight fast. But almost nobody explains why fatty liver actually happens or what truly reverses it. So people follow generic advice that doesn't work, they get frustrated, and the problem quietly gets worse. I want to change that today. Here's what most people don't realize: fatty liver has almost nothing to do with eating fat. It's about your liver cells being overwhelmed by constant blood sugar spikes, inflammation, and broken insulin signaling. Your liver doesn't store fat because you ate a steak or used olive oil. It stores fat when it's metabolically overloaded and can't keep up. That's the key insight. And once you understand this, everything changes because now you're not restricting food out of fear. You're building meals that actually help your liver clear fat, reduce inflammation, and restore function. Same grocery store, same calories, completely different biological outcome. I'm Dr. Megan Foster. I've spent over 2 decades working with patients dealing with fatty liver, insulin resistance, and metabolic disease. This isn't medical advice, but I can tell you from clinical experience that most people with fatty liver aren't failing. They're just confused and overwhelmed, trying to fix a biology problem with willpower alone. Understanding how your liver actually works changes everything. And that's exactly what we're covering today. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build one specific type of meal that supports reduced liver fat, better insulin response, lower inflammation, and far less confusion around what actually helps. This is practical. This is sustainable. And you can start with one meal, not your entire life. Let me show you how this works. Before we go further, I've created a longevity guide that breaks down exactly how to eat, move, and structure your day to support liver health and long term metabolic repair without extremes. It expands on everything we're discussing here and gives you a simple framework you can actually follow. You'll find the link in the description if you want to go deeper. Now, let me explain why this approach actually works. Here's the foundation. The number one meal pattern that consistently shows benefit for reversing fatty liver is not built around a single superfood or supplement. It's a strategic combination of specific food types that work together to reduce liver stress. And the research on this is clear. When you structure a meal correctly, your liver responds immediately by reducing fat storage signals and increasing fat export. Let me break down each piece so you understand exactly what's happening inside your liver cells. First, anti-inflammatory fats. This is the foundation of the meal. We're talking about omega-3 fatty acids and monounsaturated fats from foods like fatty fish, extra virgin olive oil, walnuts, and seeds. Now, here's what makes this so powerful. These fats actively reduce inflammation inside liver cells and improve how those cells respond to insulin. When your liver cells are inflamed, they can't process fat properly, they just store it. But omega 3s flip that switch. They help your liver export fat instead of hoarding it. They turn down inflammatory signaling pathways and improve how the energy factories inside your liver cells actually function. Same calories as other fats, but a completely different outcome for your liver. Studies show that people who increase omega 3 intake see measurable reductions in liver fat even before significant weight loss happens. That's not magic, that's biology. Your liver cells are literally changing how they handle energy when these fats are present. So, when I say anti inflammatory fats are the foundation, I mean your liver cannot effectively clear fat without them. This is non negotiable if you want real results. Next, fiber rich vegetables. This is where most people miss the point. Fiber isn't just for digestion, it's a critical tool for controlling insulin response and reducing liver fat signals. When you eat high fiber vegetables like leafy greens, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and legumes, something important happens. Those foods slow down how quickly glucose enters your bloodstream. That means smaller, more controlled insulin spikes, and that matters tremendously for your liver because insulin is the master storage hormone. When insulin is constantly elevated, your liver gets the signal to store fat. When insulin is controlled, your liver gets the signal to burn fat and export it. Fiber also binds to metabolic waste products and bile acids in your digestive tract, which improves the communication pathway between your gut and your liver. That pathway is more important than most people realize. A healthy gut liver connection reduces systemic inflammation and helps your liver function optimally. When you remove fiber from your meals, you lose that protective effect. Your blood sugar spikes harder, insulin stays elevated longer, and your liver shifts into fat storage mode. It's that simple. Fiber keeps your liver in fat burning mode instead of fat storing mode. Now, let's talk about something most people completely overlook: polyphenols and antioxidants. These are plant compounds found in foods like berries, olive oil, herbs, spices, coffee, and colorful vegetables. And here's why they matter. Your liver is constantly exposed to oxidative stress, which is basically cellular damage from normal metabolism. When that stress gets too high, liver cells start to malfunction. They become inflamed, they lose insulin sensitivity, and they accumulate fat. Polyphenols protect your liver cells from that damage. They don't detox your liver because your liver already detoxes itself. What polyphenols do is allow your liver to do its job without being overwhelmed. The research on this is fascinating. Studies show that people who eat polyphenol rich diets see reductions in liver enzymes, which are markers of liver inflammation, and measurable drops in liver fat content, even without dramatic weight loss. That tells you something critical. It's not just about how much you eat, it's about what you eat and how it affects the internal environment of your liver. Polyphenols create the right conditions for your liver to heal itself. And when people skip this piece, they miss out on one of the most powerful tools available for liver repair. Protein quality is next, and this is where people often go wrong. Protein is important for tissue repair and maintaining muscle mass, but excess protein, especially from processed sources, can actually worsen insulin resistance. That might sound counterintuitive because we're told protein is always good, but your liver has to process every gram of protein you eat. When you overload it, especially with low quality sources, you add metabolic stress instead of reducing it. The goal here is moderate, clean protein from sources like fish, legumes, and plant forward options. Enough to support repair, but not so much that it becomes a burden. This is one reason why Mediterranean style eating patterns consistently outperform high protein liver diets in the research. It's not because protein is bad, it's because balance matters. When you eat moderate protein alongside anti inflammatory fats, fiber, and polyphenols, your liver gets everything it needs without the metabolic overload. That's the difference between a meal that supports liver health and a meal that just adds more work for your liver to do. Now we need to talk about glycemic load because this is absolutely critical for anyone dealing with fatty liver. Glycemic load measures how much a meal raises your blood sugar. High glycemic foods like white bread, sugary snacks, and refined starches cause rapid blood sugar spikes. And here's the problem: even in people without diabetes, those spikes trigger a cascade of fat storage signals in the liver. When blood sugar goes up fast, insulin goes up fast. And when insulin is elevated, your liver switches into storage mode. It takes the excess glucose and converts it into fat. That fat gets stored right there in the liver. This happens meal after meal, day after day, until you have a fatty liver problem. The solution is not to never eat carbs. The solution is to minimize refined starches and sugars strategically so your insulin levels stay controlled. When you pair carbs with fiber, fat, and protein, you blunt that blood sugar spike. The glucose enters your bloodstream slowly. Insulin rises gently. and your liver stays in fat burning mode instead of fat storing mode. This is why meal structure matters so much. It's not just what you eat, it's how you combine foods to create the right metabolic response. Let me give you a practical example. If you eat a bowl of white rice by itself, your blood sugar spikes hard and fast. Your liver gets slammed with glucose and starts converting it to fat. But if you eat that same rice with salmon, broccoli, and olive oil, the fiber, fat, and protein slow everything down. Your blood sugar rises gradually, insulin stays controlled, and your liver processes that meal without triggering fat storage. Same rice, completely different outcome. That's the power of understanding glycemic load and meal composition. Meal timing and volume also play a bigger role than most people think. Large meals, especially late at night, overwhelm your liver's capacity to process nutrients. Your liver is more insulin sensitive earlier in the day, which means it's better at handling glucose and fat in the morning and afternoon. When you eat a huge meal right before bed, your liver has to process all that energy while you sleep. And because you're not moving or burning energy, most of it gets stored as fat. This is one of the easiest patterns to fix, and it makes a measurable difference. Finishing your last large meal at least 3 hours before sleep gives your liver time to process nutrients instead of storing them. You don't have to eat dinner at 4 in the afternoon. Just avoid eating massive meals right before bed. Shift your eating window earlier if you can. Eat a larger breakfast and lunch, and keep dinner moderate. That simple adjustment reduces nighttime fat storage and gives your liver a chance to actually clear fat while you sleep. Small habit, huge metabolic impact. Here's another simple tool that most people ignore: a 10-minute walk after meals. That's it. Not a workout, not high intensity, just walking. When you move after eating, your muscles pull glucose out of your bloodstream without needing insulin. That means your liver doesn't have to deal with as much excess glucose. Less glucose means less fat production. And over time, that adds up. Studies show that post meal movement significantly reduces liver fat accumulation. Even in people who don't lose weight, this is one of the highest return habits you can build. You don't need a gym, you don't need special equipment. Just walk around your neighborhood, your office, or your living room for 10 minutes after your largest meals. Your liver will respond immediately by reducing fat storage signals. And if you do this consistently, the cumulative effect is enormous. This is the kind of simple, sustainable habit that actually works in real life because it doesn't require you to change your entire schedule or identity. Now, let's put this all together into one practical meal so you can see exactly what this looks like. Imagine a plate with grilled salmon, a large serving of roasted broccoli and Brussels sprouts drizzled with extra virgin olive oil, a side of lentils, and a handful of berries for dessert. Let's break down why this meal works. The salmon provides omega 3s that reduce liver inflammation and improve insulin response. The vegetables provide fiber that controls blood sugar and supports gut liver communication. The olive oil adds monounsaturated fats and polyphenols that protect liver cells from oxidative stress. The lentils provide moderate plant based protein and additional fiber. And the berries deliver antioxidants that further support liver repair. This meal has a low glycemic load because the fiber, fat, and protein slow glucose absorption. It's nutrient dense without being excessive in calories. It provides everything your liver needs to clear fat and reduce inflammation. And here's the key: you could eat this meal and feel completely satisfied without triggering any of the metabolic pathways that cause fat storage. Compare that to a typical meal of pasta with marinara sauce and garlic bread. That meal spikes your blood sugar, elevates insulin, provides almost no omega 3s or polyphenols, and sends your liver straight into fat storage mode. Same calories, same satisfaction. Completely different biological outcome. That's what I mean when I say it's not about restriction, it's about structure. When you understand how food affects your liver at a cellular level, you stop guessing and start building meals that actually work. Here's what surprises most people. This type of meal can improve fatty liver markers even before you see weight loss on the scale. I've seen this in clinical practice over and over. Patients make these changes, come back for follow up labs, and their liver enzymes are down, their liver fat is reduced, and they feel better, even though they've only lost a few pounds. That tells you something critical. Weight loss helps, but it's not the only factor. The quality of your food and how it affects your liver metabolism matters just as much, if not more. This is empowering because it means you don't have to wait until you lose 20 or 30 pounds to start seeing improvement. You can start seeing changes in weeks just by restructuring your meals. That momentum is incredibly motivating, and it's based on real biology, not wishful thinking. Your liver is remarkably good at healing itself when you give it the right conditions. It just needs you to stop overwhelming it with constant metabolic stress. Let me address something important. A lot of people hear this information and think they have to eat perfectly every single meal for the rest of their life. That's not realistic, and it's not necessary. What matters is consistency over time, not perfection in every moment. If you can build 3 or 4 meals a week using these principles, you're already creating a better metabolic environment for your liver. If you can do it 5 or 6 times a week, even better. But don't let the pursuit of perfection stop you from making progress. One well structured meal is better than none. And as you build this habit, it gets easier. Your taste preferences adapt. You start craving these foods because your body feels better when you eat them. And eventually, this becomes your new normal. That's how sustainable change actually works, not through willpower and restriction, but through understanding and gradual adaptation. Now, I want to talk about something that sabotages a lot of people, even when they're doing everything else right: liquid calories, sugary drinks, fruit juices, sweetened coffee drinks, and alcohol all spike blood sugar and insulin without providing any of the protective benefits we've been discussing. No fiber, no polyphenols, no omega 3s, just pure glucose and fructose hitting your liver fast and hard. This is one of the quickest ways to worsen fatty liver, and most people don't even think about it. If you're drinking soda, sweet tea, or multiple glasses of juice every day, that alone could be driving your fatty liver problem. And alcohol is even worse because your liver has to detoxify it on top of everything else. Even moderate alcohol consumption can worsen fatty liver in people who are already dealing with metabolic stress. I'm not saying you can never have a drink or a sweet coffee. I'm saying you need to be strategic and intentional about it. And if you're serious about reversing fatty liver, cutting out or dramatically reducing liquid calories is one of the highest impact changes you can make. Replace sugary drinks with water, herbal tea, black coffee, or sparkling water. If you need flavor, add lemon, lime, or a splash of unsweetened cranberry juice. You'll be amazed at how much this alone improves your liver function. And you'll probably notice better energy and mental clarity as well because you're not riding a constant blood sugar roller coaster. Let's talk about something else that confuses people: healthy fats versus unhealthy fats. Not all fats are created equal, and this matters tremendously for liver health. We've talked about omega 3s and monounsaturated fats being beneficial. But what about saturated fats and trans fats? Saturated fats from sources like red meat, butter, and full fat dairy can worsen liver inflammation when consumed in excess. That doesn't mean you can never eat them. It means you need to be mindful of how much and how often. Trans fats, on the other hand, should be avoided entirely. They're found in processed foods, fried foods, and baked goods made with partially hydrogenated oils. Trans fats directly increase liver inflammation and insulin resistance. There's no safe amount. If a food label lists partially hydrogenated oil, don't eat it. It's that simple. Focus your fat intake on omega 3s from fish, monounsaturated fats from olive oil and avocados, and moderate amounts of saturated fats from whole food sources. That balance supports liver health without adding unnecessary metabolic stress. Here's another critical piece: sleep quality affects your liver more than most people realize. When you don't sleep well, your body produces more stress hormones, like cortisol. Elevated cortisol worsens insulin resistance, increases inflammation, and promotes fat storage, especially in the liver. Poor sleep also disrupts hunger hormones, making you crave sugary, high carb foods the next day. This creates a vicious cycle where poor sleep leads to poor food choices, which leads to worse liver health, which leads to worse sleep. Prioritizing 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night is one of the most underrated strategies for improving fatty liver. And it's completely free. You don't need supplements or special equipment. Just consistent sleep and wake times, a dark and cool bedroom, and a wind down routine that helps your body relax. When you sleep well, your liver has time to repair, your insulin sensitivity improves, and your food choices get easier. It all works together. Stress management is equally important. Chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated all day long, which directly worsens insulin resistance and liver inflammation. Stress also drives emotional eating, poor sleep, and other behaviors that harm liver health. You can eat perfectly and still struggle with fatty liver if your stress levels are constantly high. Finding ways to manage stress, whether through deep breathing, meditation, time in nature, or activities you enjoy, is not optional. It's essential. I know stress management sounds vague and unhelpful, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Even 5 minutes of deep breathing twice a day can lower cortisol levels. A 15-minute walk outside can reset your nervous system. Turning off screens an hour before bed can improve sleep quality. These are small, actionable steps that add up to significant metabolic improvements over time. Let me address a common misconception. A lot of people think they need to do a liver detox or cleanse to fix fatty liver. They buy expensive supplements, drink weird concoctions, or follow extreme juice fasts. And none of that actually works. Your liver doesn't need to be detoxed. It is the detox organ. What it needs is less metabolic stress and the right nutrients to do its job. All those detox products are just marketing. They don't address the root cause, which is insulin resistance, inflammation, and metabolic overload. Save your money. Skip the cleanses. Focus on building meals that reduce liver stress, improving your sleep, managing your stress, and moving your body regularly. That's what actually reverses fatty liver. It's not sexy, it's not a quick fix, but it works and it's sustainable. Here's something else worth understanding. Fatty liver often exists alongside other metabolic problems like high blood sugar, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. This cluster of issues is called metabolic syndrome. And here's the good news. The same eating pattern that improves fatty liver also improves all of those other conditions. You're not just fixing one problem, you're addressing the underlying metabolic dysfunction that drives all of them. When you reduce insulin resistance, lower inflammation, and improve how your liver processes nutrients, everything else starts to improve as well. Your blood sugar stabilizes, your blood pressure comes down, your cholesterol profile gets better. This is why I emphasize understanding the biology. When you fix the root cause, multiple symptoms improve at once. You don't need a different diet for each problem. You need one comprehensive approach that addresses metabolic health as a whole. Let's talk about something practical. How do you actually implement this in real life? Start with one meal, pick breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and apply these principles. Build that meal around anti inflammatory fats, fiber rich vegetables, moderate clean protein, and polyphenol rich foods. Keep the glycemic load low. Eat it earlier in the day if possible, and take a 10-minute walk afterward. Do that consistently for 2 weeks and see how you feel. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. That never works. Just focus on one meal. Once that becomes easy and automatic, add a second meal, then a third. Build the habit gradually so it sticks. This is how real, lasting change happens. Not through motivation and willpower, but through small, consistent actions that compound over time. And here's the thing, you'll probably notice improvements in how you feel before you see changes in lab work. Better energy, less brain fog, more stable mood, better digestion. These are all signs that your metabolic health is improving, and they'll motivate you to keep going. Trust the process. Your liver is responding even if you can't see it yet. Let me give you another practical example. Let's say you normally eat cereal with milk for breakfast. That's a high glycemic meal with very little fiber, no omega 3s, and minimal polyphenols. Your blood sugar spikes, insulin goes up, and your liver gets flooded with glucose it has to store as fat. Instead, try scrambled eggs with spinach, tomatoes, and avocado cooked in olive oil with a side of berries. Now you have protein, fiber, healthy fats, and antioxidants. Your blood sugar stays stable, insulin stays controlled, and your liver processes that meal without triggering fat storage. Same breakfast, completely different metabolic outcome. Or let's say you normally eat a sandwich with chips for lunch, refined bread, processed meat, and fried potatoes. High glycemic load, inflammatory fats, and very few protective nutrients. Instead, try a salad with mixed greens, grilled chicken, walnuts, olives, and a olive oil based dressing with a side of lentil soup. Now you have fiber, omega 3s, polyphenols, and moderate protein. Your liver can actually use that meal for repair instead of storing it as fat. These aren't radical changes. You're not eating weird foods or starving yourself. You're just making smarter choices based on how your liver actually works. And over time, these choices become automatic. You stop craving the foods that harm your liver because your body feels better without them. Now, let's address portion sizes because this confuses a lot of people. You don't need to eat tiny meals or count every calorie. What matters more is the quality and composition of your meals. When you eat nutrient dense foods with the right balance of fat, fiber, and protein, your body naturally regulates hunger and fullness signals. You feel satisfied without overeating. But when you eat high glycemic, low nutrient foods, those signals get disrupted. You overeat because your body is searching for nutrients it's not getting. This is why diets based purely on calorie restriction fail so often. You can eat fewer calories and still feel hungry all the time if those calories are coming from the wrong foods. But when you eat the right foods, you can eat satisfying portions and still improve your liver health. Your body knows what to do when you give it what it needs. Trust that process. Here's another important point: consistency matters more than intensity. Eating perfectly for a week and then going back to old habits doesn't create lasting change. Eating pretty well most of the time for months and years does. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Your liver didn't become fatty overnight, and it won't heal overnight. But if you make these changes and stick with them, you will see improvement. The research is clear on this, and more importantly, I've seen it happen in real patients over and over. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. You're going to have meals that don't fit this pattern. You're going to have days where you eat more sugar or processed food than you planned. That's fine. It's part of being human. What matters is what you do most of the time, not what you do occasionally. Don't let one imperfect meal derail your entire effort. Just get back on track with the next meal and keep moving forward. Let me talk about something that trips people up: the idea that healthy food has to be boring or tasteless. That's completely false. When you use herb, spices, olive oil, lemon, garlic, and other flavor enhancing ingredients, healthy food can taste incredible. The problem is that most people have trained their taste buds to crave extreme levels of sugar, salt, and fat from processed foods. When you eat those foods all the time, real food tastes bland by comparison. But here's the good news: your taste preferences adapt faster than you think. When you stop eating highly processed foods for a few weeks, your palate resets. You start tasting the natural sweetness in vegetables. You appreciate the richness of olive oil and the savoriness of herbs and spices, and suddenly healthy food tastes good. This isn't about forcing yourself to eat food you hate. It's about giving your taste buds time to recalibrate. And once that happens, you'll actually prefer these foods. You'll crave salmon with roasted vegetables instead of pizza and fries. Not because you're depriving yourself, but because your body recognizes what makes it feel good. That's when this becomes truly sustainable, when you're not fighting cravings or relying on willpower, when you genuinely enjoy the foods that support your health. Let's talk about eating out because that's a reality for most people. You can still follow these principles when you're at a restaurant. Order grilled fish or chicken instead of fried. Ask for vegetables instead of fries. Request olive oil and vinegar instead of creamy dressing. Skip the bread basket. Choose berries or dark chocolate for dessert instead of cake or ice cream. These are small adjustments that make a big difference. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to avoid restaurants entirely. Just make the best choices you can with the options available. And if you have a meal that doesn't fit the pattern, don't stress about it. Enjoy it and move on. The next meal is an opportunity to get back on track. This is about building a sustainable lifestyle, not following rigid rules that make you miserable. Here's a question I get all the time. What about intermittent fasting? Can that help with fatty liver? The short answer is yes, it can, but it's not magic and it's not necessary for everyone. Intermittent fasting works by giving your liver extended periods without incoming nutrients, which allows it to focus on clearing stored fat and repairing cells. It also improves insulin sensitivity and reduces overall calorie intake for most people. But intermittent fasting only works if you're eating the right foods during your eating window. If you fast for 16 hours and then eat processed junk during your 8-hour eating window, you're not going to improve your liver health. The quality of your food still matters. And for some people, fasting triggers binge eating or worsens their relationship with food. So it's a tool, not a requirement. If it works for you and you feel good doing it, great. If not, don't force it. You can still reverse fatty liver by focusing on meal quality and timing without strict fasting protocols. Let me address one more common concern. What if you have a family and cooking separate meals for yourself isn't realistic? The good news is that the meals we've been discussing are foods most people enjoy. Grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, salads, berries. These aren't weird or exotic. You can make these meals for your whole family. And if your kids or partner want to add rice or bread, that's fine. They can have those options while you focus on the core meal components that support your liver health. The key is not making this harder than it needs to be. You don't need special ingredients or complicated recipes. Simple whole foods prepared with basic cooking methods work perfectly, and over time, your family might even start enjoying these meals and feeling better themselves. You might be setting a health example that benefits everyone in your household. Here's something that often gets overlooked. Hydration matters for liver health. Your liver needs adequate water to process nutrients, filter waste, and export fat. When you're dehydrated, all of those processes slow down. Aim for half your body weight in ounces of water per day. So if you weigh 160 pounds, that's about 80 ounces of water. Spread it throughout the day. Don't chug it all at once. And if you're drinking coffee or tea, those count toward your fluid intake. Just make sure you're not loading them with sugar and cream. Black coffee actually provides polyphenols that support liver health. Green tea does the same. So these beverages can be part of your strategy if you enjoy them. Just keep them unsweetened or minimally sweetened. Let me bring this full circle. Fatty liver is not a life sentence. It's not something you're stuck with forever. Your liver has an incredible capacity to heal when you create the right conditions. And those conditions are not extreme or unrealistic. They're based on simple biological principles that we've covered today. Reduce insulin resistance by controlling blood sugar. Lower inflammation with anti-inflammatory fats and polyphenols. Support liver function with fiber and moderate protein. Give your liver time to repair with good sleep and stress management. And move your body regularly to improve insulin sensitivity. That's it. No detoxes, no extreme diets, no starvation. Just consistent, informed choices that support your liver's natural healing ability. And when you approach it this way, fear and confusion disappear. You're not guessing anymore. You're not following generic advice that doesn't work. You understand what's happening inside your liver and how to fix it. That knowledge is empowering and it makes consistency possible. So here's what I want you to do. Start with one meal this week. Apply the principles we've discussed. Build it around anti inflammatory fats, fiber rich vegetables, moderate clean protein, and polyphenol rich foods. Keep the glycemic load low. Eat it earlier in the day. Take a 10-minute walk afterward. Notice how you feel. Pay attention to your energy, your digestion, your mental clarity. Those signals will tell you that this is working even before lab results confirm it. And if you want a clear, comprehensive roadmap for long term liver health and longevity, check out the guide I've linked in the description. It expands on everything we've covered today and gives you a step by step framework you can follow. No guesswork, no confusion, just practical, science based strategies that work in real life. If this kind of calm, evidence based guidance resonates with you, consider subscribing. I create content like this to help you understand your health so you can make informed decisions without fear or overwhelm. I'll see you in the next video.